Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time, and I wanted to shoot this video about finding peace in prepping. Now, I've touched on this subject here and there through some of my other videos, but I thought now would be a good time to bring this subject up again because there's so much fear-mongering going on, and I get it. I watch some of those channels too. But that's not what my channel is about, and I'm going to go more in depth in another video about why I don't talk about certain subjects much, or maybe only hint at. But one of the main purposes of my channel, there's many purposes of my channel, but one of the main ones is to help people to be motivated, encouraged, to find peace and comfort while they're doing these things to put themselves in a better position. I don't want it to be about using scare tactics to get you there. Now, yes, there are some big things going on out there that people really need to be paying attention to and using those things as a catalyst to head themselves in the right direction. But we cannot constantly feed ourselves with fear in every single day and every single video we watch, and then expect to approach this in a calm way, especially when it comes to how we talk to our friends and our family. Now, let me back up just a little bit. I did a video maybe 2-3 years ago, I don't remember how long, and it was called Are Preppers Crazy? And it was one of my craft time chat videos. And I'm going to link to that one down below so you can watch that one, because I do talk a little bit about my own personal evolution in the process of becoming more prepared and what I went through to bring me to where I'm at now, which, by the way, I don't think there's any place where somebody's completely arrived. No matter what it is we're learning or doing, no matter how many years we've been doing it, we should never have the attitude that we've arrived and we're there and we have nothing more to learn. We should always stay humble and realize that everything is a process, and no matter who you are, even if you have a YouTube channel, it doesn't mean that you know it all. It means that we're all trying to help each other and give each other ideas to get ourselves in a better position. And we're going to have different ways of doing things, and it doesn't make one person's way more right or wrong. It just means it's what's best for them or best for me. So going back to that video, I'm going to touch on some of that here, but I do go more in depth in it there. But really, it's common for most people, unless they were born into the mindset of always having a certain amount of food storage, of always being out of debt, and always having a certain amount of money or currency, whatever, set aside in case of an emergency, rather than depending on an insurance company to take care of us. Then somewhere along the way, that means we had to have woken up. I don't even like to use that phrase anymore, because to me it always sounds, I used to use it all the time, but it can sound very condescending. But really, there's this kind of state of mind that we're in when we're just doing things the common way, that, you know, the American way or the UK way or wherever you live, that you just do things the way everybody else does it, and you listen to the mainstream news and you just go about your life believing everything you hear from the doctors and the talking heads on TV and whoever it is. And then one day you realize that things aren't exactly how they make it appear to you. And then we realize that we need to stop depending on the government or the stores or the doctors or whoever to be there for us. It doesn't matter how good or right any of these people might be, but they can't always be there for us. And suddenly one day this hits us, you know, when we come to this realization, and it's like a bam, you know, this light bulb goes on, and we realize that we need to better our situation. Now, for a lot of us, it might have taken a certain situation, a certain disaster that happened, maybe only to us, or maybe only to our little small town or our small family, whatever it was. So for most of us, that had become a catalyst to head us in this direction. But along the way, especially with YouTube and certain other media outlets out there, you can get too caught up into some of that stuff, because I am guilty of that. I've been there, and you work yourself into a state of panic and fear where now the only reason you're putting up food is because you're scared. And it is scary. It is scary when certain when you do realize certain things. And that's okay to an extent, because those things do become good motivators. But somewhere along the way, you need to find peace and calm, because constantly working yourself into a state of panic and being afraid that you don't have enough is it's going to be detrimental to your physical health. It's going to be detrimental to your emotional and mental health. And it's going to be detrimental to the health of the relationships you have with your friends and family. Because I know what happens. A lot of us do this. And when we're in the middle of that 1 year, 6 months, year and a half, however long it is for you, freak out stage, that we tend to just hammer on people all the time about how they need to do this and they need to do that. And that's just going to push people away. Now, there are those few people that kind of stuff will help them. It might help get them on the right track, but in most cases, it's only going to push friends and family away from you, and they're going to stop listening. And I know this from experience. And it was a tough realization for me when one day I just realized, what have I done? I went too far. I got myself too deep into this, to the point that I was having nightmares all the time about this stuff. And this was years ago. And we weren't anywhere near where we are now with the current state of affairs. Whether you've been doing this for 50 years, or you're just now getting started, or you're just thinking of getting started, you do not have to approach it with that mindset, even with what we see going on out there. Because those of us who believe in the Bible know what the Bible says, we should just be doing what we know is best and how God's calling us, because we know there's going to be an end sometime. But we don't know if it's going to be tomorrow or 1,000 years from now. It sure looks like, when we look at what's happening, it sure looks like it's going to be real soon, but we don't know that. And if you're not a Bible believer, look back through history. Every society has gone through ebbs and flows of various different kinds. In a lot of cases, they've been through some dictatorships that rose to the top and then came crashing down. And then we go through this whole cycle again. And we see that over and over throughout history. And what does that tell us? That tells us, let's just look at America. We've been through at least one Great Depression, and we made it back out again. And just because what we fear is coming, it does not, and it may come, it does not mean it's the end of the world. It means that the best thing for us to do, no matter what your belief is to just put yourself and your family in the best position you can. Keep some tabs on what's happening, but don't steep yourself in it all day long, every day. Trust me, it's not going to help. So what you have to do is, no matter where you are in your prepping, in your preparedness level, let's say you're just getting started and maybe all you have is a couple extra days worth of food. Well, you know what? That's a couple extra days worth of food for you and your family. You're getting started. You've done something, and that is what matters. You're making those right steps, as you should do. And you shouldn't compare yourself now to where like someone like me and Patrick are right now, because it took us a long time to get here. We had to take things in steps. And as I've shared before in several other videos, most people that get into a preparedness and realize the need for it don't just suddenly have, several $1,000s that they can just spend on 2-3 years worth of food storage and, several $100,000 to put in an underground bunker, which we don't have one of those. A lot of us just don't have the money or means to do something like that. But we started small and we slowly have built upon it. We got ourselves out of debt, which freed up more money for us to be able to save more money in order to get more things to build up our prepping. Now, I did recently do a video, and some of you have probably already seen it, but I'm going to link back to it too, and that is about how to get started in bulk buying, because I know that if you're not used to it, you're used to buying things in small little bits at a time because that's what you can afford, then you can make it work, and it is more affordable to buy in bulk for the items that you know you're going to use a lot of, as long as you also learn how to put those up in a way that are going to last for you. So I'm going to link to that video down below. So again, let me reiterate this. Look at each step you take. no matter how small it is, even if it's that one extra can of green beans or that one even 5 or 10 pound bag of dried beans or rice, look at that and say, look, I did this little extra step, and take comfort in that and realize that's going to feed your family for a few more days or weeks. And then from there on, it's just like when you're paying off debt and you start seeing that principal on your house drop, and then you start finding more ways to put money on that, and it gets exciting and it kind of becomes a game. Revel in that. Look at the positive side rather than the negative, and find that peace and comfort there. Now, another video I want to mention that we did a few years ago, it was actually back before we rearranged our pantry the way it is now, but we're sitting in the pantry then. And I was doing a series at the time on five ways to save, and each video was focused on just 5 different ways to save money in different areas. But I added one in there, and it was 5 ways that food storage saves. And I'm going to link to that one down below. Now, when you start buying things in bulk, remember to focus on the things to start with that you know that you and your family are going to use the most. Then, and here comes another video that it was pretty in-depth that I did, and it still didn't cover everything because I had to do it a couple of different videos. And that was about the many other things to put into your food storage besides just beans and rice. And so I'll put that video down below because I throw out a whole bunch of different ideas that I hope will help people kind of, whether you're vegan or not, I'm hoping that will help head people in the right direction to think about things besides the rice and beans. So once you get past the rice and bean stage, or at least you get a week or a month's worth of that built up, start considering adding other things to your food storage that are going to help prevent food fatigue and just bring joy in a hard situation. Such as, you know, for example, and I mention this one a lot because it's one of our favorite things, is I stock up on raw organic cacao powder and raw organic cacao butter so that I can make our own chocolates. That's just that special little treat, and I can make it myself, and I know what's in it. It's a lot more healthy, and I've always got the ingredients there to make my own chocolate and make it however I feel, and it's actually pretty easy. I have a whole playlist just on chocolate that I will also link down below. Gosh, I hope I remember all these. And if I forget, by the way, just comment down below, hey, you forgot this link. I'll make sure I get it in there. And then as you move along, again, just like seeing that whole, the fun and kind of making it a game, like how much more can I do this week? What can I cut here in order to add a little bit more to my food storage this shopping trip around? Even if it's just one little couple pound bag of rice, or maybe 3 extra cans of whatever your favorite fruit or vegetable is. You know, if you're not into canning or dehydrating or any of that, these are definitely good skills you need to learn, that especially if you're going to look at growing a garden. But if you're just trying to get the food put up now, then don't get yourself too worried about the canned foods, whether or not it's organic. Yes, that's going to be best if you can, but it's best, really, the best thing is to have food, period, be it organic or not. So I do try to get as much organic stuff as I can. I can't always find everything organic, just like peaches are. Sometimes we can, but peaches are a hard thing for us to come by organic around here. So I get what I can fresh and can them up. And I've bought canned peaches before, as well as other canned items. In fact, I don't have a whole lot of store-bought canned items left, except for olives. Black olives is the one thing I do stock up on canned, because, you know, they just don't grow around here and you can't find them fresh to can yourself. And then here's another reminder that I have to put out there, that a lot of people still, even with everything that's going on, still don't see the value in putting up food storage and water storage and having some medical supplies, which kind of blows me away how people can't see that. But I think there's still a lot of people that think the government's going to be there to help them. Well, even in the best situations, and even if there's government entities that are doing the best they can to honestly try to take care of people, there's only so much they can do. And we need to stop putting our dependence on other people to take care of us. but we need to take matters into our own hands and be responsible adults and look after the future of ourselves and our family members. And that really should have always been our responsibility. And for far too long and little by little, we've allowed this responsibility to be taken over by other entities. And that was the first mistake we made. And now we see a lot of apathy because a lot of people still have this belief that somebody's going to be there to cover their rear end when something goes wrong and they failed to prepare for what's coming. And then I think the other side of it is people, if they're not thinking that way, then they're just thinking, oh, everything's going to work out. It always has in the past. We've always been fine in the past. But even the people during the Great Depression and that whole situation with the Dust Bowl, they didn't see that coming. And they were people that had a lot more skills than the average person does today. They had a lot more skills. And even through all that, even with their upbringing of saving and doing the hard work themselves, they were still put in a very tough situation. And a lot of people didn't make it through because of that. I think a lot of times what happens is, it's just like, I keep coming back to the Dust Bowl because I remember history teachers talking about it in school, but I don't remember it ever being painted in the very serious light that it truly was, and how many people lost their lives over that, and just how terrible it really was until I watched the documentary by Ken Burns. And that was really eye-opening. And a lot of times you can find those documentaries on Netflix, maybe Amazon Prime, maybe some other different streaming media, possibly even on YouTube. You might be able to find those. So if you haven't seen at least that one, I recommend it because it really changes your mindset. As long as you're open to the fact that, because here's the other thing people do. Oh, it'll never happen again because lightning never strikes twice in the same spot. Well, yes, it does. It might be a different bolt of lightning, but it can and will strike in the same place. And then that other greatest last words is, it'll never happen here. And I think Americans in particular, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe a lot of other countries are this way, but I do see Americans in particular that kind of have this attitude of exceptionalism, like, we'll never fail. Everything will always be okay. And again, coming back to just trusting some other entities to take care of us rather than taking the responsibility ourselves. And here's something else that happens. Again, I'm trying to keep this on the more positive side, but these things do need to be mentioned, is that when we start taking control of our own lives and our own future, whether it be putting up food or simply just saving some money for hard times, that is a form of insurance. So while we're all being raised to let insurance companies rob us of great amount of money every single month, and we've been doing it for 30 years into the same company, and then when we need them, they deny our claim. Rather than doing that, wouldn't it make more sense to take that same amount of money and put it into other types of investments and insurance that will actually be there for you when you need it? So when you're investing into food storage, it doesn't mean you can't still have these other insurances. I'm just trying to use it as an example. When you're investing into food storage and storing up money in some kind of form, you are setting up your own insurance in that way that will still be there for you. Your claim can't be denied when you go to make it. Just like when our house insurance failed to come through for us on this roof, thankfully, we had our own personal backup insurance plan, and we were able to put a new roof on this and we got rid of our house insurance, just so you know. I'm not recommending people do that. It's just what we chose to do because 30 years of paying all that money into an insurance company and have us deny a claim when we really need them. Even if you're insured for whatever disaster can happen in your area, if you live in Florida, maybe you have a special insurance for hurricanes. Well, when that hurricane comes through and everybody's house gets wiped out, you better assume your insurance company is not going to be there for you because they're not going to be able to afford to cover it because they got a whole bunch of other places to cover. So you cannot put your faith in that. So having your insurance be in other forms as well, food storage, some kind of financial savings, water storage, getting out of debt, so on and so forth. These are things that are more likely to still be there for you. I'm not saying that something can't happen to those too. I mean, I've heard horror stories about people who had all this stuff and they didn't have house insurance and their whole house burned down. And so without the house insurance, not only did they lose their whole house, they lost all of the preps, even the cash they had set aside. So you got to think about all that stuff too. So when it comes to that, it's about diversifying. So we're diversifying in many different ways. And you know, we might not have the house insurance, but we know how to take care of things and to take care of ourselves if something horrible happens. We have backup plans. And as you do that, this is the point I was trying to get to, as you start seeing this stuff and you realize, especially these tangible things that you can actually see and you know it's there when you need it, that alone brings a certain amount of peace and a certain amount of joy that encourages you to just keep doing that. Now, another video I'm going to try to remember to link to is the one I recently did on food storage for small places. Now, this can apply to even if you have a big place. Maybe you're just wanting to find more ways, more places to put up food to, again, diversify and to just make the most out of your space. I'll go ahead and link to that video in the description box as well. And one more thing I want to add is that even if nothing bad happens, whether it be to you personally or on a whole worldwide or nationwide scale, and life just does end up going back to normal at some point, and you kind of find that groove again, there's always going to be some kind of hard time that's going to strike, even if it's only to you and your own little world. And just having some kind of backup, some kind of plan laid out is going to bring a certain amount of peace and comfort. And then you don't have to worry all the time about what's going on in the news, what's going on in the world. You can just keep focusing on what you're doing and doing the best you can to take care of yourself and your family. And that's really where our attention should be, not on this politician or that politician and, you know, how horrible they all are. He said this about this person over here. It needs to be focused on our own selves and what we're doing to put ourselves in a better situation and finding that peace and joy in the process and make life worth living now and in the future. And remember, one more little tip, having some kind of food storage and other types of, even fuel storage saves money and saves time. And I do cover some of that in a couple of the other videos I'll be linking down below. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this video and that you found it encouraging, because that's really my goal right there. Find peace, find joy, enjoy what you do, and enjoy your family and friends. Oh, yes, and please, put any encouraging, positive words down below that other people can come in and read, some little tips, some little advice that you think will help people as they're moving along this road. And it doesn't matter if they're new or old. We all have something new that we can learn. It doesn't matter who we are. All right, well, thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.